You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Barner, and today is Friday, March 29th, 2024.
6.
This week's Procurement 6 is brought to you by the Retail and Supply Chain Logistics Expo in Las Vegas this May. Art of Supply is a media partner for the event, and they showcased some of our content to their community this week, providing an update on the mess that still faces Boeing. To read the article and learn more about the event, click the link in today's show notes. If you book a ticket, remember to use code ARTOFP100, ARTOFP100, during the registration process.
5.
For any role or function, working in a startup can look and feel quite different than having a job at a large, more traditionally established company, and this definitely applies to procurement. In fact, according to this week's podcast guest, Liam Hua, head of procurement at Rippling, startups are actually a breath of fresh air for procurement because they are much more receptive to their involvement and influence. Let's listen in as Liam describes why procurement is much more likely to get a seat at the decision-making table at a startup.
I used to work for Delta Airlines. I used to tell everybody they should always work for an airline once in their life, right? Just because it's a lot of fun to fly everywhere. But I also think, if you're a procurement person, you should definitely work for a startup once in your life. Because at a larger company, in a more traditional company, you're very much used to this common theme that a lot of people talk about, which is I need a seat at a table. I need to justify to you why I'm in this room with you at the budget table or whatnot with you. But at a startup, it's actually a breath of fresh air that there's not that many tables, right? Mm-hmm. And so you are at the table regardless of whether or not you like it or not. And there's things you can do to improve upon that. And in terms of the interview process, again, can I interview with so-and-so person? So that, because, whether it's the CTO or whatnot, it's because you just know you're going to be at the table with him or her quite often. But the idea of having more help at a startup, at a hyper-growth environment, very compared to a larger company is a breath of fresh air in the sense that there's not really any pushback.
Yeah.
Right. People want the help. Yep. There may be disagreements as to what the deal should look like or what the approach should be. Mm-hmm. But by and large, people are happy to say, all right, if you could take this, my job isn't vendor management, my job isn't procurement. Nobody's trying to own the world. They're trying to scale the company and be successful. And there's a very good sort of camaraderie around that.
Startups likely know they need procurement for something, but they might not be sure what or when. It's a terrific opportunity for procurement professionals to educate the business and carve out their role as a strategic partner from the very beginning. To listen to the full episode, go to artofprocurement.com/podcast or search for Art of Procurement and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also click the link directly to Liam's episode in today's show notes.
4.
This week, we shared an article and video interview covered as part of our AOP Introducing series. This is the only content we create that is product-focused, and it is done so deliberately to capture and share the backstory and unique value proposition of new tech platforms. This week, we feature Niraj Shah from RFP Ninja. But don't assume you know what this platform does based on the name. No, Niraj and his team did not reinvent the RFP platform. This is for suppliers to use when they respond to your RFPs. Read or watch the interview linked in the show notes to learn more about how savvy suppliers are using this new technology to streamline and improve the RFP response process, and how that may benefit procurement as well.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
In October of 2021, rental car company Hertz announced that they would purchase 100,000 Tesla Model 3s for their rental fleet, followed by 175,000 EVs from GM and 65,000 from Polestar. The move was supposed to accomplish a few things: help them overcome shortages of conventional cars at the time, give them sort of a cool factor as they came out of bankruptcy, and lean on the sustainability trend to drive revenue. Instead, it backfired. On April 1st of 2024, Hertz will get their 5th CEO in just 4 years. How could this strategy, one that seemed to be in alignment with corporate and consumer sentiment, go so wrong? In this week's episode of the Art of Supply podcast and newsletter, I look into the series of events that have made it hard for several CEOs at Hertz to lead the company successfully, and how their own choices may have made a bad situation worse. To hear the full interview, check out the link in today's show notes or go to artofprocurement.com/supply.
2.
This week's news headlines were dominated by the devastating collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore after being struck by the container ship Dali. At first, it was impossible to look away from the video, but after seeing it a few times, I found it impossible to watch. We know the supply chain is involved because it was a container ship bound for Sri Lanka that hit the bridge. But let's get a sense of the potential impact by the numbers. According to an article in The Guardian, Baltimore is the 9th busiest port in the United States. At least 750,000 vehicles arrived there in 2023. The port handled foreign cargo worth $80 billion last year. And nearly 12 million vehicles cross the bridge each year, many of them tractor-trailers. And then, of course, there is the most impactful number of all: 6. 6 people are believed to have lost their lives in the collapse. Although the crew of the Dali managed to get out a Mayday call and the Maryland State Police closed the bridge, there was a construction crew at work at the time, and they didn't make it off. Their loss is heartbreaking, and rightly so. It has been the primary focus of the story so far. To read more, check out the article linked in today's show notes.
1.
Before I let you go, I want to mention an upcoming event. On April 2nd, we are hosting the team from Supplier I/O, but not to talk about supplier diversity. The focus of next week's conversation is sustainability. With new regulations and investment decisions requiring more and better ESG data, it is time to uncover the challenges 2024 will bring and start to get prepared for the road ahead. Procurement has a critical role to play in the environmental impact of any company, but they need meaningful and transparent supply chain data in order to do it. And so in this live session, we will cover some of the drivers for ESG and sustainability reporting, how to get started, and how leading organizations are taking impactful actions and achieving success. You can either click the registration link in today's show notes or go to artofprocurement.com/calendar to see all of our upcoming live events.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.